Afternoon. Welcome back to Afrifama Live. In case you're joining us for the first time, welcome again. My name is Njuguna Hilary. I'm the founder and a young entrepreneur here in East Africa. So, as apologies for that, guys. So, I'm just getting to check few things. We have to check the audio is good, which we just confirmed right now. Everything is working well. Good. I guess now we can get started. Now, in case you're joining for the first time, my name is Njuguna Hilary. I'm the founder and a young entrepreneur based here in Kenya. And we have these amazing live whereby we tend to discuss all things entrepreneurship. So from the ideation phase, the business planning phase, which we are currently at the moment, and possibly in the future on how to grow your business. And the funny bit about these kind of lives, it came as just in a very unique way. So let me know where you're watching from, and feel free to introduce yourself and welcome to the live. And the funny bit is how we got started with this kind of live. We've been making videos for almost the last 2 years, and mostly these vlogs have always been focused on poultry farming, feed formulations, and even the hatchery, which ideally is what Afrifama does. And all of those are three different business entities under the Afrifama group. And someone just challenged me some time back when we got into the YouTube Academy recently, which we call a bootcamp. Why don't you start doing this kind of live? And the funny bit is, before that, people used to ask me this kind of sort of questions. How did you got started into entrepreneurship? How do you come up with a business idea? How do you implement your business idea? How do you plan for this business idea? And based on all those factors, I got to thinking, why not share all these kind of insight under one roof? So in case you're joining for the first time, this is purely entrepreneurship-based related kind of insight. Boring stuff, I know, but if you're a business person, if you want to get started into business, please feel free to stick around. And yeah, Joshua, nice to see you. Good afternoon. Feel free to tell us where you're watching from. If you're into entrepreneurship, and yeah, all things that are related in that way. And most thing I'll be talking about, yeah, como estas. My Spanish is very limited, actually. I know few words like como te llamas, gracias, that's to say thank you. But I don't want to lose focus, but I'll definitely love to go back to Spanish classes someday. And yeah, and Spanish people are very loud people. So ideally, thank you. Good to see you, Anita. Please, thank you so much. Help us with the moderation. So I'm kind of new to this kind of stuff, and sometimes I usually like it and also love it. The fact when Anita comes, she's also a builder, she's an entrepreneur, and can help us. So feel free to say hi, where you are watching from, and what you do. Now, before I lose the gist, we are talking about how we got started with this live, and basically is more about entrepreneurship kind of related discussions, from ideation, business planning, all the way to even how you grow the business, and maybe later on the fundraising. So we tend to come once, maybe 4 to 5 times in a week. when I'm very much available. And last week, we were discussing on business planning. We got to talk what is a business plan. We got to ask ourselves if it's a necessary tool or not. And trust me, the fact that all people do businesses is not also a fact that all people have business plan. So we got to ask ourselves: is it necessary to have business plans, or is it something that is overrated also? So it's quite an interesting discussions. We got to introduce what's the business plan, what is involved in a business plan. And obviously, I remember we were also using this kind of a manual. It's one of the most recommended manual by ILO. And this is what we call SIYB. This is start of your business manual. And when I started this live, I started to say, I need to bridge these two worlds. The theoretical aspect, which is from the SIYB, and my own aspect of building Afrifama. I believe if you joined before we got started, you saw a bit of what we do on, that was I think on one of the warehouse on for animal feed mills. And I can tell you guys, the fact that we've been able to build, like, let's just talk about Afrifama Feeds as just simply a business unit. The fact we have been able to build it from the ground to where it is at the moment, not even a very great company, because I still feel even today, I'm still at level 1. I can tell you for a fact it's because we had a proper business plan in place. And even where we are going in the next 1 year, 2 years, and even the partners we have been able to bring on board, the people who have come to help us build, and even my own co-founders and wherever they are amazing people, it's simply because I've had a business plan. And it's due to this business plan, it have kind of made me grounded to be able to build. So we got to talk about the aspect of how business planning helps you to decide, for example, where we want to go. For example, as me as an entrepreneur, if I don't have a specific business plan telling me, okay, at this phase, I need to be building this, maybe these are my customers, so how do I approach? If I don't have a plan, it's very difficult. So we got to talk about then organizing. So this is whereby through a business plan, you get to organize your ideas. You got to explain what is your business idea about. What exactly are you doing? If there isn't a problem, what's that problem? What is the solution? What is your TMs? These are your target markets. And this is what helps you. And lastly, present. Business plan, we say that you will reach a certain place whereby you want to grow, and you cannot communicate if you don't have a business plan. Someone cannot really understand you. It's just hard. Even when you get to do like a research of these exciting, amazing, successful entrepreneurs, I know it's true. Sometimes you don't need to prepare a business plan, which is like 10, 15 pages. Even when you read those entrepreneurial diaries or you watch them and you hear an entrepreneur met in a restaurant and then they just use a napkin as just a business plan. It simply is because they had an idea of how their idea looked like, and they were able to communicate to this. And most of us, we are not like those A-star technocrats. Some of us, we're just starting from the ground. So a proper business plan helps you to present your ideas. And in case you're joining for the first time, feel free to say where you're watching from, what you're involved in, if you're in entrepreneurship, what's your thought on business planning? Is it essential, or is it again a waste of time? It's very interesting. I see Anita say, hola Joshua, muy bien, gracias. Oh yeah, I forgot about muy bien. It's very interesting statement. I didn't know, Anita, you are Spanish. That's very interesting. So, welcome to this kind of life. That's what we get to speak about. And again, if you love what we are doing, feel free to interact. I don't have all the answers regarding the business planning. I'm literally just sharing my own understanding as well. What ILO use. That's why I'm using this book as a reference. So, other than introducing a business plan, we got to talk about different aspects, and we also started with the marketing plan. And I felt we spoke about the information you need to get through your marketing plan, the people you can use, and again, how to use this information. And we ended up actually discussing the 7 Ps. And I hope you guys will remember them if you are in that live. I think I seen Anita because I think I saw you last week on the same live. I think you can remember about the product, price, place, promotion, people, process, and physical evidence. But this is the gist. Now it was more about getting to understand now how are those correlated, and again, how do you go about writing about them? And it's more about like planning for your own business. And I think that's where we left. But just to paraphrase a little bit for people who are watching for the first time, who are joining, we talk about the marketing plan. And the marketing plan, we said, as ILO says, it will help you identify your market. It will help identify how to market your goods and services. And one way of organizing your marketing plan is, again, to describe the 7 Ps, which we talked about. The product, you know the product. It's what you're building, what you're offering to the people. Price, how do you come up with the price factor or the pricing point? Which factors do you consider? We talked about, for example, what are consumers willing to pay, the competitor prices, and of course, your cost of production. So that's where I felt we spent much more of our time. We, of course, talked about the place. For example, when you're describing this in your business plan, what exactly is making you choose a certain destination? Is it due to the factors of distribution? Is it due to the factor, for example, you'll be able to, you're more near your raw materials or near your final produce, the final consumers. And if you're not if you're in between, what exactly, why are you going for that specific locations? So we got to talk more about that. And then we talked about the promotions from direct marketing, a bit of digital marketing as well, those things we get to do. And it was interesting. I think we ended up spending more than 2 hours. So I promise you, today, I'm not going to spend 2 hours due to the two factors. One, I'm feeling very odd at the moment. So yesterday was like, someone said it was my birthday. It's something new. I think you should never forget about your birthday. And she was very angry and like, hey, I wished you a birthday, and you're like, it's a very normal day. I guess for us entrepreneurs, it's something very normal. But due to the fact that is one factor, and then two, I want to edit. So it's been a while since I edited a long video. So we have a new development of a hatchery, and we had that kind of long. And three, I wanted to make it short and sweet, not as if I know like how sweet it can be all short. But I'm just thinking, those 2 hours last week, they were very mental and they are very hard to follow. So we are going to pick up on where we left, and we are going to go into a bit of staffing. And later on, we'll also tend to look at another new element being discussed, that is organization and management. And trust me, especially on organization and management, this is one key thing most investors tend to look at. And trust me, because for the last 2 years, I think at every 3 or 2 months, I get to interact directly with the investors. due to the fact I've been looking for funding for Afrifama. And they will always ask you this information. So it's also good to know about that. So we'll talk about the legal responsibilities and how, again, you structure your business. And yeah, that will be it. Because next, and of course, grading your business, that will be the last bit. And hopefully, maybe tomorrow or the next day, we'll be talking about costing. And this is why I was thinking of bringing an accountant, because again, I'm not an accountant, but I just know. So before we get started with this discussion, why don't you say where you're watching from? Come on, guys, don't feel shy. It's just it's a Monday afternoon here in East Africa, and it's all things business. Don't feel shy. Feel free to introduce yourself, and feel free also to ask a question. Anita, do you have any question regarding a business plan or business planning or what we're discussing? And anyone else joining live? Is business planning important, or is just overrated, or what exactly makes businesses succeed? I'd love to hear that, guys. So I'll get started with what ILO says as staffing. So when you start your new business, you may need to hire employees. If you employ staff, you will need. If you employ staff, you will need skills to manage them. You should also adhere to the laws and regulations which apply to labor market. I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's definitely things you need to consider. And this is why we say business planning is so essential. I know some people maybe think it's not. Imagine you start your business today, but you actually don't know what kind of people you'll need to work with, the kind of the skills you'll be looking for, and then you get started. I think that will be the easiest way of performing a suicide for your business. And this is why they say the productivity of your business will largely depend upon the people you employ. And obviously, I know there's a certain segment whereby ILO has developed, not just as subtext for this, and that is the IYB for people and productivity. And we'll, in the future, we'll go more into the details. So what you need to know while you're doing your business planning, as far as staffing is concerned, is you need to get into the details about, one, how you recruit. And this is how you bring the right talent for your team. And then two, how do you motivate? Once you have recruited these people, how do you motivate this talent to stay with you, to help you build your vision as an entrepreneur? Then, how do you manage your staff to even achieve higher productivity? So technically, staffing is a subset of a business planning, and you get to go into a bit of detail. So if your business plan one is intended for you, you can always refer it as a manual. And trust me, I remember when I said about the case for Afrifama feeds. So if I didn't have a business plan, I currently work possibly with maybe 4 or 5 or 6 people. I have 2 consultants, so technically they're not full-time. But the people I work with, it's through this business plan, when I was sitting down and I was asking myself, if I'm going to feed formulation, what kind of skills, what kind of people will I need? And one of them was, the feeds nutritionist. By background, I'm a business major, so I've studied entrepreneurship. So I have zero knowledge about feeds formulation. But last year I did try. When I discovered that gap and I knew this is what I wanted to do, I did go into school. But also at the same time, I cannot be as good as anyone who has spent 4, 5, or 6 years, or even 10 years in the industry. So in my business plan, I definitely need to list down, okay, I need a feeds nutritionist. This is the role they are going to play in my organization. And this is the skills I'll be looking for if I need to hire someone like this. Then I'll go, for example, as a business, I'll need to make a sale. So who do I need? Technically, is the salespeople. And then again, it will be like, what kind of the skills do I need for these salespeople? What exactly will they be doing? So that's one way of looking at the staffing. But then, other than the recruiting part, you've got to understand something. How do you maintain the staff? It's hard, trust me. It's very easy when you're managing staff for the first time. So it's the dilly-dally when the money is there and everybody is happy. But when the business don't start getting the results, then you need to figure out how do you maintain, how do you motivate these people to perform? How do you increase their productivity? So ideally, the staffing bit of a business plan tends to give you that blueprint. So ILO says this: you can hire members for your family, but you need to know this. To prevent conflict of interest or resentment by others' employees, you have to make sure that family members you employ have required skills and are not employed just because they are family members. They should not be given special privileges and should not have the same working and should have the same working conditions as that. It's a very interesting bit when people ask, okay, well, still on the staffing, should you hire your family members to be your employees? It's funny, in African businesses, and this is where we're building, most of us, it's no-brainer when your business becomes maybe successful, and then maybe your aunt or your uncle say, don't forget about your cousin. You need to bring them on board. So for us business professionals, sometimes, you sit back and then you have to start thinking, is it okay to bring your family member in your business, not just your cousin, even your brother or sister? Or what factors are there? And you realize some of the biggest dynasties, even I'll use a case study of great companies in Kenya, which are now going past that. Most of us know Naivas. And it's very funny, for the first time, Naivas, which is one of the biggest chains in Kenya, is like a Walmart for Kenya, but now Walmart for the US. So they have hired a non-family CEO for the first time. It's because they have also come to realize that sometimes and we're not saying in a bad way, if you don't have the right people who have the right skills, then succession is going to become a problem. And this is why you realize or notice most of African businesses, even if they become successful, they don't go beyond their maybe 10 years. That's almost a decade. And this is an issue of succession, because we tend to more favor the senior positions among our family members, and that's what destroys us. But you've seen a case for Naivas when they brought in a new CEO, which is a non-family member, and even other businesses in Kenya. So you've got to ask yourself, I'm not saying you don't employ your family members, by any chance help them. But then the question is, do they have the right skills? And that is what your business plan does. It's going to keep you grounded. So even if you're going to employ someone, you have to look at it and ask yourself, okay, when I was planning my business idea, I said, oh, this is the direction my business is going. We needed someone with skill A, B, and C. All right, I have my cousin, I have my aunt, or I have my uncle. Do they have the skills? Tick, 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 tick. And that's why even small startups, don't be even surprised. Even Afrifama, before we get to work with you, you go through the normal, the hiring process. We as founders, co-founders, we sit down. You convince us why we should work. And while most of the time we might not look at your academic level, there are those of the things that we are tending to look for. Because that's what, when we were planning our business, we are like, okay, this is the skills we are looking for, this is the altitude, and these are people. And that's what your business makes you grounded. So you got to mention that. So in case you're joining for the first time, welcome to the channel. We are talking about business planning, and for this, we are actually very far in. We are in the staffing level. So you can always go back to what we have covered to this position, but feel free to I see, Anita, you're saying business is the blueprint for starting a business. Very important. Yeah, I agree with you. It's very essential. I mean, let me try to think. If you don't have a business plan, so that means you're very, very blank. How would you do your business? It's hard. So ILO, we're also using the case study for ILO. So we keep ourselves grounded, and yeah, I guess that's what gives us a little bit of legitimacy, right? So the backstory is I'm certified, by the way, guys. I'm a certified business coach, that is by SYB ILO. Before I became a full-time entrepreneur, I used to offer these services to organizations and people, and I liked doing it actually. But I kind of limited my involvement because sometimes my business needs me more, and sometimes these organizations are technically not who they say they are. So there's a lot of bullshit going on with business related BDO services. And some of us who are entrepreneurs, we feel it's just not right. As much as I want to do this to earn money and I want to share this information, there's so many gaps involved. And that's why I was like, I just share this insight. I don't get to charge anything. I just love doing it. And also the fact that people have been asking me a lot of questions. So I don't need to have like one-on-one session with you. You just go to Afrifama Live, go check what we have done. If it's now like the business planning, you check what we've done before. And hopefully it helps you to build. So it's more of a business-related content, boring stuff, guys, trust me. But very, very essential for building your business, especially if you're a newfound entrepreneur. Now, back to the staffing. So how you're going to do when you're writing this segment, because obviously your question will be, then how do I write this segment in my business plan? What ILO says is, one, your business idea will help you to decide what skills for your staff you need, which we've actually talked about. So you need to follow the following steps. One, list tasks that will be performed. Ideally is what exactly needs to be done. Once you start implementing your idea today, what is the first thing? Then what follows up in the next week, the next month, even for several months. So within a year, you can be able to know these are the tasks. Then decide which task will not have, you will not have time or skill to perform yourself. So technically, when we start our businesses, we tend to do most of the stuff. Trust me, even myself, I've done accounting, have done business planning part, which is very essential, have done marketing, and sometimes they can be overwhelming. So for those skills, and now for this case, like with Afrifama Feed, when I listed this, I was like, I will not be able to do animal feeds formulation. While I understand it, it's very technical. So for that one, I won't do it. The same case for you. You need to list those tasks which you know you can do. So for me, I do full-time business development. So I do the planning for the business, the strategic planning again. This is whereby the decision making of what goes day to day. I meet with the investors. I meet sometimes not necessarily with the customers. Nowadays, I realize I need people to do that for me. We have amazing gentlemen with the like of Ali and Robert, very influential with what we do. Now, once you've done that yourself, there are those things you know you can do it yourself, And there are also those skills you're like, you need help. You need to list them down in your business plan. Then you also now need to determine what skills, experience, and other requirements you need for the staff you hire for this. So it's true. We said once you know where these gaps are, you just don't go to the street and then you pick someone. You need to know exactly which procedure are you going to use. So for the case of the people we've hired here, we have always written, okay, they need to be this and this. And this is what helps us. Trust me. When we are not very successful, I can say, these are the skills of what is going to help us to become successful. The same case with you, you need to know if you're bringing anyone in your business, do they have the skills? Do they have the experience? All any other requirements. So this is what you're going to list down in your business plan. Because remember, we said a business plan, it's not just a written book, it's a tool. And this tool is going to help you day to day, even monthly of organization of your business. Now, lastly, ILO says you also need to decide how many employees are needed to perform each task. This will be largely depends on the volume of the business you anticipate and the time required to perform each task. Yeah, and it's very essential. So how many people do you bring on board? You need to be specific. Do you start by bringing one person, 2 people, 3 people, or even sometimes 10 people? This will depend with the activities you have listed your business. And by doing that, you are actually preparing a blueprint for staffing. Now, on the fifth point is you need to prepare job specification for each position where you describe the job title, task, responsibility, qualification, skills needed to perform this task. And last but not least is developing the staff policies such as working hours, holidays, and sick leave. So by doing that, is now obviously what we call the HR are able now to have the basis for the contract. It's very tough because as an entrepreneur, you still need to figure it out. Even if you hire an HR to do that, your business plan need to have stipulated some of these things. The same thing, last bit is, and this one I'll just read as a case for ILO, they say, the staffing cost. This is a very essential part that is most of us we tend to forget. And if you're joining for the first time, guys, feel free to introduce yourself, where you're watching for. If you have a question, don't feel shy. We talk all things entrepreneurship related. And for this kind of live, we've just been planning, or rather talking about business planning, and we are in a segment called staffing. So ILO says, consider the cost associated with the staff that you have decided to hire. Your staff cost will include their monthly salaries as well as payment for statutory contribution. These are things we talk for big companies such as health services and allowances. So as an owner of the business, you should also determine the salary and other benefit that you will receive. This amount should not be too low so that the capital of a business is not eroded by personal or household needs of the business. It should also not be very high because more profit is consumed by the owner, the less a new business can grow. So you also need to know you may need to consider employing temporary staff to meet unexpected work demands. To pay this temporary staff, you need also to note about the hourly wages and everything. And this is very funny on staffing cost. As an entrepreneur, you also need to, through this business planning essence, you need to know, especially if you're working full-time for your business, how much will your business be paying you? Again, it shouldn't be too high. And this is what I've seen. I don't want to be sued, but I was doing a case study recently for Trigger Foods, which is one of the premier or the best companies I've seen in terms of the foods tech in Kenya. And based on the research I did and based on the finding for most people, this is a company that raised millions, if not even actually billions. And you'll get to see the staffing cost. It was just insanely so high. The engineers cost, the top management board cost, and even the people. And most of the experts ended up by saying, at one point, the costs were just crazy that even the amount that was the business bringing in, and this is in terms of the sales for the produce, was not how much the business was paying to the employees. Classic example. And even myself, when we are doing a business planning for Afrifama, I keep reminding the people I work closely. There is no given point we can say our cost for us goes high unless we are able to cover those costs at a given point. Because technically, if you're not careful, staffing costs actually do take the biggest chunk of your working capital. And if your business is not really bringing in so much money to be able to cover those staffing costs, you'll also realize your business also ends up struggling to the growth. So by clearly defining this, you are actually saving your business growth for the future growth. Let me know what you think. Is that making sense? So by doing that, so how now you put all that information is you're going to list down the list of the tasks which are going to be done, the required experience and the skills so that you can be able to get to know the people you're going to apply, the people who will be fulfilling these tasks. So obviously after you employ them, and their monthly pay, and you'll be done. And that's how simple staffing it is. So you remember there was this case study we were doing earlier on, and this was the case study of city garbage recyclers. And I love continuing with this as we continue to building our business case. But before I continue on the city garbage, or maybe I can do I can either do Tosama cloth bags because it has like limited, and then we can move to the organization, and then we'll be done. My 45 minutes will be up. Meanwhile, as I take a water break, guys, please say where you're watching from. What are your questions in terms of the business planning? What are your thoughts on the staffing? Is it making sense of how you structure down that whole aspect of staffing under the business plan? Let me know what you guys think. Sometimes when you talk for a very long time, you feel the need and the urge to drink a lot of water. It's the same thing with the staffing. If you're not careful if you don't fuel them, if you don't, how do I put it? If you don't have a proper structure for them, if you don't have proper remuneration, you don't fuel your people. And this is why it's so essential, I think, to consider these kind of things before you go into any business. So the case we were doing for Tosama, I'll just do it for a minute. So at City Garbage Recyclers, John will be responsible for overall management of the business and administrative work, while Mary will be the factory supervisor, responsible for all the production and sourcing for the raw materials. They plan to use part-time laborers and only employ a few full-time staff. Mary will need an assistant factory supervisor. John will need a marketing officer, 2 sales assistants, and a driver to manage deliveries. They need an accountant to do the record keeping, but Mary will do at least for the first 6 months. Now, for the full employees, 10% of monthly salary must be contributed to the pension fund as well as insurance. So technically, this is a case we've been working on since we started. That is very loud. This is a case we've been using since we started the ILO, building the business. And we are seeing for the city garbage recyclers, is a company we've been working on and building. They say, one, for the task, we'll need a factory manager. So for the required skills, they say he should have a degree in commerce or a business related. And obviously, that's now the John. And you can see for John, his monthly pay is around $900. And then there is a contribution. Remember the 10% we spoke about for all this. Even if in Kenyan law, there is also that stipulation. When you build to a certain stage, you need to have this kind of contribution. We have the housing levy. We have now they're calling it SHAP. But most Kenyans know that one. It's a very, very controversial scheme. But you need to follow that as an entrepreneur. Once you build your company to the same level, it has to. Then they also have a factory supervisor. And again, the skills is also either a diploma in administration or a degree for the same. And this is where Mary is the co-founder for John. And you can see the monthly pay is 800 USD. And there is, again, the pension fund for the same. And lastly, we have the assistant factory supervisor, which they are saying he or she has to have a diploma in veterinary science from a recognized institution with 3 years experience. And they will be paying $450. Then we have a marketing officer, who should have an advanced diploma in sales and marketing. And again, the pay is around 500 USD. We have the part-time laborers, sales. And then the funny bit is to be able now to do the whole costing. Because remember, the last bit of our business plan is costing. And these are what the costs will be doing. Remember when we did the costing for some of the 7 Ps that will be involved? The same case for the staffing. And we see they'll be paying around 3,500 for their wages. Funny bit is how much the staff are paid. And I keep saying this, also you need to be careful. You figure this based on how you see your business will be. And also the amount of work that is being done. You see, for example, starting from the factory level manager all the way to the assistant. And it's very hard, trust me, as an entrepreneur. This is some of the things that keeps me at night when I'm trying to think, okay, what is the best pay to pay for certain days and days? Because nobody teaches you that. You have to determine. But also, again, you also have to be fair for those people who are also working for you. Now, for your business, that's how you come up with the staffing section. You follow up the 6 steps. Then finally, you have that kind of a table. This person, they'll be responsible, for example, based on their skills. And this is the skills they should have. And this is the remuneration. Because later on, that cost is what is going to help you with the planning phase. Now, I hope that makes a lot of sense. The next bit is on organization and management. And honestly, I feel we don't need to discuss about it today. I know I had said I need to talk about organization and management as well as growing your business. But now I've realized we'll need to go deeper. And as I said, we are not doing this because we need to rush into it. We need to get into this kind of conversation because, one, I feel the need to create something that makes sense for a lot of people and can help a lot of you if you're building your business for the first time. So there's no need to rush. We have all the time. So, and I've also promised you 45 minutes, guys. 45. It's now 45 minutes. So I'll use the next 1 minute, just or 2 minutes. If you have any question, I'll just be around. I'll answer your question. So then I can go to other tasks. Because I feel the reason we're doing this kind of live, this kind of info session is it's not just to dish out or dash out information or see how much we can talk about, but I feel we give it short bits. And also thanks for those guys who suggested this. I think it's good so that we don't make it hard. This is not like a class or something. It's more of where you pop in when you feel like building. So please, I hope today's session was great, and I hope it's going to help you when you're planning for your business, when you're writing down your business plan. It's going to help you reflect down on staffing, what you need to do, and how this is going to inspire you. I really hope you're going to build a very, very successful business. And if by any chance you'll have any questions and we're not there when you're watching this, always feel free to leave a comment in later on. Even if it's not live, I will always handle it in the next business. So until tomorrow, guys, the same time, almost I think at around 3:30, 3:15, we'll be talking about organization and management, because now this is where I feel before you raise financing, and even yourself, before even you convince people to come work with you, you need to get the right organization structures, get the right management structures, and it takes time. The fun bit is I spent the last 4 years in entrepreneurship, which we covered a lot of management, and 2 years in a school of management, pure management, from strategic management, and I feel, and even organization management, which is very funny because this is actually a whole unit in school, but we're not going to do it as unit. We'll be using the ILO module, and also again what I feel has worked for us through Afrifama. So until tomorrow, wishing everyone a great afternoon ahead, and thank you for joining this live. Bye-bye.